Hey y'all, happy Friday. So we are going to finish up, that's my plan anyway, are looking at Psalm 1:1. So we talked about refraining from labor yesterday, really looking at rest and what the word is telling us about our place with people who would be mockers or scoffers. Um, the other part of that was to rest and relax where the mockers or the scornful are gathered. To relax is to make less tense or rigid. To slack, make less stringent or severe. To become lax, weak, or loose. And to cast off restraint. Now, to make yourself at home, if we're relaxed, you've made yourself at home, we tend to let our guard down, right? We do things, we say things at home that we would not say in other places. Not that that's wrong. I'm just saying that same type of example that when we put ourselves in the environment of people who would be, who would just not have the same conviction about God that we do, that we would be less severe, I suppose, in our convictions, or less, we would become lax or loose. Another thing it said it was to make yourself comfortable or support, to rest, they'd be supported. Is you don't count on these types of people for support because they're not stable. There's no stability there. Let's see, another thing I want to look at is 1 Corinthians 15:33. And of course, I'm reading in the Amplified Classic, so let's go there. 1 Corinthians 15:33. And, let's read this and then I'll tell you my thought. It says, do not be so deceived and misled. Don't be deceived. Don't be misled. This is Paul's word to the church at Corinth. Don't be misled. Don't be deceived. Evil companionship, communion, associations, corrupt and deprave good manners and moral and character. Bad company, okay? Don't be deceived. Don't, and again, we do that. We rationalize things in our head. This is okay because this is what I'm trying to do. Don't be deceived. Don't be misled. The world puts such pressure on us. And okay, we're talking about Psalm 1, right? Psalm 1, this is a 30-day journey of choice. The choices that we make matter, and why they matter, because somebody's eternal life is at stake. And people are watching you that you don't know are watching you. They're listening to you that you don't know they're listening to you. And our lives, we are salt, we are light, and what we choose to do matters. It matters. And why would we choose to put that kind of responsibility? Why would we take on that kind of responsibility? Because of the goodness of God and his love for us, that in our brokenness, our utter just distraught mess, pile, ugly, filthy, that he gave himself for us, that he loved us so much. And it is his love that calls us to live a life where he would say, well done, my good and faithful servant. That we would live a life where we could say that even though our flesh wanted to do this, our spirit won out and his love called us to the right direction. If that makes any sense to you. I understand that when we're looking at it and we're like, well, I would rather do X, Y, and Z because that's more fun, it's less difficult, not so much responsibility. But his love is worth the choice. And not only that, it's for our good and it's for our benefit. There is nothing that he has asked us to do, nothing that he has asked us to give up that would be good for us. He is trying to get all the bad out so that the good can come through, so that he can teach us, as Matthew 5 tells us, his way, or Matthew 6:33, his way of doing and being right. The other thing I want to make mention is that in the New Testament, Paul gives a lot of instructions, and there are do's and don'ts. This is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is right. We have to look again at the context of Paul's teaching, that Paul was a Jew. I mean, he says he persecuted the early church because of them. He thought that they were lessening, that they didn't keep the rules, and Paul kept all the rules. He knew all the law. And so, and of course, God's chosen people, his love was set aside for the Jewish people. But Jesus came to open up the love of the Father, to open up relationship with God the Father to the Gentiles. That would be anyone who is not a Jew. And when you start talking about the heathen people, and I say heathen half, almost like tongue-in-cheek, but heathen because of the way that they lived, and heathen because they were not God's chosen people. Now they have access to the Father. They have no idea how to live a life pleasing to God. And so we have to be taught what a godly life looks like. And Paul does that in his teachings and all of his letters in the New Testament. This is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. And that those things haven't changed. They are still part of a godly life, and part of our light to the lost world. Well, how can you live and not do X, Y, and Z? Well, because my flesh doesn't control me anymore. That we're not bound, we're not slaves to our godless, sinless nature, as we read from that Message translation. So anyway, I did want to kind of give that context as well, that Paul in the New Testament and the New Testament church, which you and I are part of, that we do have to learn how to live a godly life. And Paul does give us instruction on how to do that. So we are way at the 7-minute mark now. I feel like I really went on a rabbit trail there, but those were things that I had in my notes to talk to you about. So anyway, I'll see you tomorrow for our live about 8:30 over on the Daily Devos Facebook page. Thank y'all for being with me this week. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.